Let's see. Let's see if YouTube can handle that now. Chess Dojo on YouTube. Home. There it is. Okay, now YouTube got it. All right. Greetings, everybody on YouTube. Yeah. It couldn't handle how fast I started the stream or something because it hadn't fully processed disconnecting Jesse's stream. I had to guess from like the 4-second lag that there generally is on a stream when Jesse was saying that he was switching his stream off, when to switch mine on. And for Twitch, it was perfect, but YouTube was struggling on that one. All right, so do you see this position, folks? This is absolute madness between Norbek Yakuboyev and Van Nguyen. We've got this alpha 0 pawn on h6, which doesn't look good, right? It looks like it's preventing white from attacking black's king. It looks like black can pick it off with bishop f8. But white has successfully stuffed this bishop on d7. See, it can't get out. The pawn's holding it here. The knight on c3 is keeping it in. And that means the queen's trapped. She can't get out. That means the rook's trapped. He can't get out. Van's burning his time, and Norbek just literally just played king d1. Like, nobody even knows what he's doing next. He's just, king d1, do you want to resign because you can't figure out how to move or something? I don't I don't know what to say about what's going on this board, but this game is it's basically, it'll short circuit a chess player's brain to stare at this position. That's what this is. You know, a short circuit a chess player's brain. Maybe white has a plan to go rook a3, rook b3, rook b4, rook c4. No failure to zigzag there. And try and trap that queen. But I'm not sure how king d1 prepares that. Realistically, these are the two moves I'm looking at for black, maybe. The weird thing is, if black trades this bishop off, then the h6 pawn is no longer hanging, and suddenly it's like a genius pawn, right? Because then you always have to worry about checkmate on g7 and the king's dark squares. Yeah. I would need some more time to get into this and give you a sense of what's going on. But let me just click around a little bit and see some of what else is going on in the round. So this is Report versus Erdogmas. I was wondering if black could just play b6 and say the bishop's got enough of a role here. That'll be its only role. He did. I think the kid's doing fine. Actually, he's got 20 moves to make to time control. When Jesse said he had less than a minute to move, I thought Jesse meant he had 10 more moves to make. No, he's got 20 moves to make. But I think he's doing fine. It's not too hectic. Now, Salem and Levon. The position's under control for the moment here. Kings are relatively safe. Stuff can happen, but stuff might also not happen. So I'll just keep an eye on that. I'll keep that on the back burner. Shanklin and Vidit have already drawn. Okay, fair enough. Won't be watching that game. Closing it out. Hari won. This was the game where, like, I picked it by opening, not by players, you know? You can never say the position isn't hectic against Report. I'm going to say it right now, Jackson. I love Report, but check this out. This position, not too hectic. Not too hectic. Okay. Hari Krishna's already won his game, folks. How is that? How is that reasonable? The game was 20 moves long. You want to see it? You want to see some blood here? So this is a Sicilian where he's traded on c6 and on f6, giving black the most amazing pawn center ever. But there's a certain type of position. I already learned about this position when I was, or actually invented it versus learned about it. I came up with this concept already when I was a teenager, that if both of your knight pawns are missing or moved, right, then your king can never be safe on the king side or queen side. And you can hunt a king like this for 60 moves. You can play a 60 move game where you keep queens on the board and you're always hunting. Always hunting. So, king b1, queen c5. Let's see it. Hari just tucks that bishop like I would have too. Okay. Eventually, black can't help themselves. Sometimes you play moves like rook g8, rook b8, say your rooks are active, but look, you're going nowhere on the b file. He'll play g3, you're going nowhere on the g file. Rooks are separated. And eventually, f4, f5, white's going to want to go after the light squares because of the dark squared bishop. So black tries to defend the light squares in advance with this pawn break here. Now, if white trades, it's going to increase the influence of this bishop. So he might be coy about this trade. He wants black to take on e4, of course. Let's see how he handles it. Oh, yeah. He wants black to make one of these trades. Okay, and I could see black being tempted in doing this now because the pawn on c4 looks ugly there. Steinke reminding us all that Amazon might be bad, but if it's a part of your life, you could take $2 from Amazon and send them over to the dojo, and that's making the best of a bad situation, or lemonade out of limes or whatever. So might as well do that, folks. Exactly. Thank you, Steinke, for reminding us all. So Darda doesn't take yet. He holds tough. Tries to withstand the pressure on d5, but white might be happy to double trade at some point. That's on the docket for white. Or will he play knight back to c3 and ramp up the pressure? There's knight c3, d e4, Ceccarino. Whew. That's not a very good rook on h8. Rook e3 almost ends the game, but there's bishop c7, but then there's queen f6, huh? Yikes, and now the queen's here. I mean, she wants to get back into the game big time on f2. Rook e3 looks reasonable to me. Gets played. Bishop c7 forced. Now, couple good moves left. There's queen f6. There's knight e4 from this move order. There's highfalutin moves with this bishop because its job is kind of done, right? So you could go bishop b3, bishop c2, bishop d7. Queen f6 seems right. I mean, you take the pawn, you get access to the middle of the board. Let's say queen f6. Nope. Knight e4. So that's takes g4. Right? Takes. Rook heading to g4. Black has to play f5, it seems like. Oh my god, that move wins? Well, no wonder he played knight e4. I was wondering about this move, but I didn't think it could quite win. What if the follow-up is not even queen e6, but like bishop d7 now, you know? Go back. Oh. Hari took him out. I think queen e6 might also win. Might just be exactly the same, right? If the king comes here, as Chess Lover says, you mate like that. And if the king comes up, you can sort of do the same thing. Well, no, then there's the king here. It's a little less clear, right? Right on, Tweezer. Pump us full of Bezos bucks. So maybe it would be bishop b3. I mean, Darda didn't need to see any more. Ari played rook e6, and he's like, yep. I haven't been this wrecked in years. I have not been this wrecked in years. Choo! Let's go, Hari! Now that's a game for you, boys and girls. Whew! All right, Zemlyansky and Blübaum. Who's interested in this game? Well, if you weren't interested in it before, you'll be interested when you see that after 26 minutes, the kiddo played h4 here. That's some bloodthirsty chess. He didn't deign to castle queenside. He didn't deign to complete even half of his development. Bishop b3, huh, Chess Lover? That's pretty sick. I mean, as black, you almost want to play fe6 and make white play bishop b3 if there's, only one winning move and all that. But sometimes you also just want to hurry to bow down. Hurry to bow down. You have to pay your obeisances. When Hari's that good, you have to be like, yes, yes, yes. You're right. I see it. I see it. You're the master of my world. Just quickly resign. That was an incredible, nasty game. This is also probably an incredible, nasty game, and it's not over yet. They're still thinking. Let's see. Let's see if Zemlyansky was right, because Blübaum took his pawn and said, well, show me what you have in mind, kid. I feel like here the next move could be bishop d3, trying to develop quickly. It could also just be knight d5, pop, pop, pop. That's not even a sack. What are we talking about? Of course white's doing fine. Takes his pawn back. Boom. Some would want to take on c7, then bishop b4, king here. That's very risky. Some would want to get the bishop pair. But Zemlyansky's probably trying to do whatever's best for checkmating black's king. Oh, there's the king tuck. And the pawn on h6. Again, man. Again, it seems like that keeps you from attacking on the g file. In my day, folks would have played like bishop d3 and rook g1 and tried to castle queenside. You know what I mean? This is what an orderly kingside attack looked like in my day. Black plays c5 for counterplay. You castle, they take. You come here. They're looking for counterplay. They're dreaming of counterplay. You go to the g file. That's how we used to do, and then what is this weird bug here? Yeah, and then you've got this knight f5 move, as well. But I guess the black players were making it too easy for us, and there's better ways to defend that kind of stuff. Now, Zemlyansky just tucks his king in this weird business, puts the bishop on g2 partly to cover the king and the knight, and just locks up the g file with h6. And Blübaum could say g6, my king is safe, and now, I play rook d8, rook c8, c5. That would be the old way of saying, ha, 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 why did you play h6? In the old days, honestly, in the old days is, 10 years ago. Somebody played h6, you'd look at them like, what, are you crazy? And then you'd play g6. In the new days, Blübaum plays g5. What a fighting move. Knight g5, bishop g2, check. Bishop g5, bishop f3, hitting the queen. Bishop f3, queen g5, rook g1. Wait a minute. I mean, in old days or new days, it all still depends on calculations. So hang on. Let's double check that. Bishop g5, takes. Queen g5, rook g1. Thank you, 11 years. Supporting the dojos. No engine coverage of top world events. Yeah, there's a lot of book burning going on here, Far Eastern. A sure indication of the descent into authoritarianism. Now, why not bishop takes g5? I hear you finally joined, Chess Lover. After all that pressure I put on you for all those years. Welcome. You are most heartily welcome to the dojo. Now it's time for some sweat work. I hope you've got your tank top and a notepad and pen. Why can't he take this pawn? Okay, you are ready. Oscar chess, queen b5 check. Thank you, Oscar. That is nasty. That's a nasty move, Oscar. I was never going to find that. I was not going to find that in a year of commentating. Many points. 1 point is here. Another point is here. And another point is here, and your king's in the way of rook g1. Okay. If I were playing a game, I think I would find it. But commentating, I don't know. Thank you, Oscar, for the help. I mean, sorry, yeah. Thank you, Oscar, for the help. Indeed. Okay, so bishop e5 goes Zemlyansky. So on g4, he's got moves like knight e1 and knight h4. By the way, a good old Jesse question was who's attacking who? And I think this position is asking us who's attacking who. In this position right now, I mean, white goes bishop e5. Black plays g5. White plays bishop e5. Black plays knight g4. Do you guys know which of these players is attacking the other one right now? Anyone have like a clear picture or opinion? What's he doing? Preventing rook h2? Planning knight e3? What? Normally the phrase who's attacking who comes from situations where one person starts attacking, the other person sort of does a counter attack, gets some counterplay going, and at some point the counterplay starts to become real. Then we say who's attacking who. But this position, it's a genuine question. I mean, I'm confused. They each seem to have all their minor pieces on the king side buzzing around the kings. They're both trying to attack at once. Thank you, Richie. Thank you, Richie. Prime example of what to do with your Amazon subscription. Okay, bishop comes back. Yeah, I mean, f6 could be coming. I think white doesn't even want knight e5, right? So, of course, the bishop tucks back. Okay, black continues to fight against white's king side. Gets a trade, opens the c file, messing up his pawn structure, but who cares about those? Any move like rook h5 is going to be rebuffed by f6. I suppose Matias is looking pretty large and in charge here, actually. Zemlyansky needs something, goes for rook h5. 14 minutes on f6. What? I thought that was a reflex move. And queen f5. Dang. Morning, Charlie. Or Charles, sorry. Morning, Charles. Michael Wang would be knight takes g5, yeah. Thank you, Go Irish. Big matchups for this round. Well, it depends on what you consider big. I mean, to some extent, all the matchups are pretty big in a knockout like this. But you know, the 2700 plus players, none of them are yet paired with each other, right? In that sense. So, knight f2 is a threat, we're being told here. Queen f5. They're only at move 20. This is hectic time pressure here. They're at the same move as this report or Dogma's game was 4 moves ago. But that one is, you know, not so hectic. Bishop e3 comes in, rook d8, knight comes around. White's trying to get out from the influence of this bishop and say that, you know, it could be a little bit left behind. Definitely there's room for subtleties. You know, report could get Yagis into a mildly bad spot somewhere here in the time pressure, but it's not going to be as hectic as what might happen to one of these kings. All right, so Michael Wang, we're going to go look at your question for a second here. So your question was knight g4, knight g5 in this position, right? Instead of bishop g3. Would allowing bishop g2 have been losing? That's Chekovich. I think that's losing, yeah. Feels that way. Here there's the threat of mate, so you can't even go queen c2, queen d3. You have to do something like this. Knight e3, queen d3 for mate, bishop g5. Yeah. My feeling is this should eventually lose for white. That was a lot of material. White seems very, very committed to mating black. Queen takes g4. Let's see. Oh, I see. Queen takes g4. Oh. Now that could work. Okay, I just thought of a position, folks. Hang on. Let me share it with you. I just thought of a tactic. It doesn't work here, but I want to unveil it for you. Even here, it doesn't quite work. All right, let's try it like this. No, it's got to be black to move. All right. Can you see this position? Okay, so for black, I'll play f5. What should white play? This is inspired by Michael Wang, so I'm dedicating this tactic to you, Michael. That was exciting. You wanted to play knight g5, sack the rook on h1, and then bring your queen out to g4. We'll try to make it work in a moment. Okay, I'm going to have to work on this tactic, Michael Wang, because there's two solutions. It looks like rook h7 also wins. Here's what I had in mind. I'll find a way to fix this position and make this into a real tactic. That's one of my favorite mating patterns. And then, of course, we need a position where the king can't escape on the diagonal. Right? But the rook on h2 was too good. Adding a rook on h2 was too good, and this is a second win. And also a beautiful one. So good job to everybody who found rook h7, which was also the answer there by accident. Okay. So back to Zemlyansky and Blühbaum. So Michael's telling us, let's look at this thing. White's down a rook. Is there any way, Michael, that black could refute this with queen g2? Are they up enough material? Before I was inspired because I was thinking of f5 here, right? Trying to stop checkmate. And then I started wondering, oh man, if only we had knight f7, knight h6, right? But does black have enough material to play queen g2? Feels winning, right? King g2, f6, as some people are pointing out. Also bishop g5. I'm not going to accuse anybody of anything because I've blundered the fact that these pieces were hanging on g4 and g5 this whole time. Yeah. Okay. Nice idea, Michael. Thanks for asking us about that. It was inspiring. Let's see. Zemlyansky's played a move here. Let's see what it was. Rook back to h3. Covering this. Maybe hang out here. Maybe just hang out here. Black's going to want to like show that they've got two connected rooks and try to crush him. Ivan might lose quickly here, or maybe this pawn is going to show its power again, this crazy pawn. Let me keep clicking around. I want to get back to Yakubayev. King d1. Bishop f8 was played. Wow, so he doesn't untrap the queen. He does say, I'm going to try and come win this pawn at some point. And look at that. The rook starts the zigzag. Unbelievable. By the way, folks, Van can't quite take the pawn on h6 yet here, probably. Probably. Because of rook takes, knight takes, pawn takes, attacking here. That's why he played king d1, by the way, folks. I finally figured it out. He played king d1 to indirectly protect the h6 pawn with this tactic. You hit the knight. There's no rook e5 check. Right? Knight goes to g4. Let's say, and you go e6. And then I think taking on e6 is better than struggling in this horrible position here. In my opinion, I think this queen is basically, you know, trapped and this pawn is just too strong. So that looks lost to me. I think black maybe gets some attempt at fighting like this by sacking back a little bit of the material there. And, you know, sometimes this position would be plausible with the rook and the pawns. But I think here probably not quite. Maybe white can play knight d5. The bishop's stopping these tactics. And the rook comes over into the game as needed. Maybe queen d5 as well, yeah. I don't know. So So that's why king d1 was played. King d1 was played so that black couldn't take this pawn because of the rook takes fe line. True story. Bishop f8. Rook starts its maneuver. Black goes e4. Now threatening to take on h6. Bishop h6 is really threatened, right? Because the queen's influence is blocked. Knight e2 played. So in response to bishop h6, now he's got this trap on the queen here. And it could go back and forth. For a draw, does he have better? Maybe rook c7, going after this piece. Bishop here. Knight d4. Black's won this pawn, and now all their pieces are bad. Bishop takes, rook takes. Bishop here, knight e6. Oh, you can't play chess like this for black, right? White just goes back to the h file at some point and says, thank you for winning my h pawn. That's incredible. Abdusattorov is still playing, Alex. I haven't checked on his position in a while. We can check on it. Well, I mean, he might have lost today, but or be still playing. But I mean, he won in round 2, so he is playing in round 3, and today's just the first game of round 3. So that's part of the weirdness about the pawn hanging around on h6 is if your opponent takes it at the wrong time in a middle game, then you're like happy that you sacked a pawn for an h-file attack. So they have to kind of leave it around till the end game. Knight e2, rook e7, knight d4, grabs that pawn, does Van. Whew! This game, the hot spiciness level in this game is comparable to the Hare Krishna game. This game is just off the charts bonkers. Simple bishop e2, stopping knight g4. Just another stroll in the park. King on d1, down a pawn. Right, Van prepared queen e8, so he's now immune to rook c3. He doesn't care about it too much, and then, the rook could come to c7, and then he plays rook c8 and just trades off that rook. So rook c3 doesn't seem to me to do anything, at least not at an obvious human level. White can play knight e6 at will, because if black wins a pawn there, bishop c4 will be coming at some point, and the king will be open on all the diagonals. But black also has defensive resources in this position, folks. I mean, I don't rightly know what's going to happen. For sure, I don't know. I don't know who's better. But it is hectic as all hectic. And Dubov and Meyer, their game ended in a draw. Technical position. No one's going anywhere with that. Okay. Good game for both of them, I suppose. And we've got Svana, the younger, against Gukesh. So Gukesh played bishop b5, walking into c4, made a trade, and then gave e7, which was not yet taken. Svana still hasn't taken e7 yet. There it is. Finally collects it. Rook comes out. Looks about equal. Looks close to equal. If Gukesh plays a4, then he's not even trying to win. He's just trying to end the game because there's nothing to be done or something. Report Erdogmus. Okay. Glad to have things borne out. Agreed to a draw, so it wasn't too hectic. Although, I mean, it's got a little... Let's see. Here. Doubling those pawns. Good shape with the rooks. Yeah, and just keeping the white king at bay. He couldn't really get his bishop back out from a5, so he couldn't press his structural advantage in any way because his bishop was trapped. On the other hand, Report can't do anything either because he's barely even defending his c-pawn. Okay, so a fair result there as well, and that cuts down on the games we need to keep track of. Aronian has tucked his king.
In my opinion, Salem is a very dangerous opponent. One of the most dangerous players rated 2620 in the world, if not the most dangerous player rated 2620 in the world. Well, let's bear in mind there are some kids. There's Zemlyansky, who's even rated lower than that, who's very dangerous. But this is one of the most dangerous players of this rating. What a bad streak he must have had in the past year. Because this guy is 2690 level most of the time. And so this is a dangerous matchup for Levon. They are in time pressure. There's nothing hectic on the board, but they've been so careful about subtext, possibilities hiding under the surface. They're only at move 24. So they've got 16 moves to make, and the pieces are still on the board. Even if it's not hectic now, as long as there's this many pieces on the board, chess can always become hectic with this kind of material. So Queen f4 headed for the c7 square. Yeah, I'd imagine maybe knight f8 for black, covering with the rook and bringing the knight to e6 to attack these squares. And maybe that would be the moment where you would want to put a pawn on d5, but there's the fourth rank, so we can't. Positionally, this would be the moment to do this with the pawn, right? You stop knight e6, big pawn coming, and it could be slightly awkward for black against this passed pawn, but there's this. Maybe there's like a queen g3 version of the same idea. A3 was played in the game, which is what I was looking at before you mentioned the c7 square to me. Maybe there'd be some move like queen g3 here. Knight f8, d5, takes. That looks like a real consideration for white. Black doesn't know if you're going all in on the d pawn, or if you're going to suddenly use this c file, like look for knight b5, or if you're just going to try and keep the knight down. And they have to cover these squares. This looks worse for black. I don't know who's better in the position, but that one situation looks good for white to me. Maybe queen g3, queen a5, leaving the knight more central. I don't know, but let's see what happens in the game, because Salem plays a3. This move's very bad if black can play knight c4 quickly. Queen b3, staying inside his position. Woo la la. Now this could lead to some like queen g3, knight d5 tactics. But no, queen takes queen always stops knight c7. Yeah, I don't see anything too scary there. Okay, so the queen hangs around. If you go rook d3, your rook's undefended, so you're not threatening anything. Queen b3 looks fine for Levon, and Salem better have a good idea in mind with a3, because Levon's going to rush this knight c4 otherwise. No, I haven't seen the Arjun game in ages. Let's open it up. Oh no, it's already over. Arjun won. Jesse said that Arjun was killing. Here with bishop f5. Basically, he's got back rank mate is the concept, right? So that's the idea here with bishop f5. Black plays bishop f7. He goes after the 8th rank again. I felt like that would force rook takes rook. This is the position Jesse showed me half an hour ago. Arjun with an hour on the clock. Good lord. Queen b6 check. And then the entire time we've been talking, Arjun was just thinking about rook f2. And once he played it, he won the game in like 30 seconds. So this was apparently a huge moment, and something he doesn't like about king h1. This is a weird move. We don't have 27 minutes to figure it out, and if it took Arjun 27 minutes, it might take us 27 days. h5 takes, queen d5. And that's the end. Rook c8, queen f5. So he blocks with the rook. The trade happens. Now, we could have this position with the rook on f1, king on h1. Bishop is not wanting to be taken, but also only has so much runway on this diagonal. And if you tuck, then there's also moves like queen f4. Knight g6. Queen f5, queen here. Also queen f4, queen d6. Here just to do this, maybe? Opening up this as well. Yeah. Yeah. I don't really see a defense for black there after bishop b7. See, the thing is, if black goes h5, you give check. If they move the king, you win the bishop. But if they trade the bishop, then you get this knight. I'm not sure why rook f2 made all the difference. He spent all his time on this move. All his time on the entire game. But after this, he just pins the knight and wins it. That's the end, right? Bishop e6 coming. King h7, queen f7. That was the end. So Arjun won. Prague drew with Hovhannissian. Prague's drawn a lot of games so far this tournament. All 3 classical games. Anish is still playing. Oh, his position looks evil. Evil. Pranav has the advantage against Titas. Jesse was also watching Kamer, so I'll open Kamer's board. We can always get to this endgame later. Let's open up Noterbeck as well. Because he's probably got an exciting Najdorf. Yep. 2 Noterbecks, 2 exciting Najdorfs. Morning, Acratic. I have a list of the top players who have been eliminated below me, yes. Those are all players who you might think of as candidates. Candidates for the candidates, right? Candidates level players. The kind of level of player who had a chance of getting to the top 4 in this World Cup, and they're all gone in their very first round, right? But yeah, we are blessed to have both Noterbecks playing insane white sides of Najdorfs today. I think Martinez is in trouble in this one. That's my instinct. I mean, are the kings almost symmetrical? White's f-pawn would have to be another h-pawn, and then it would be a symmetrical pawn structure, rotated. That's nutso. Basically, I guess I'm favoring white's bishop over black's bishop. Oh no, this is an h-pawn, not an f-pawn as well, right? So this king's open from like the diagonals and the ranks. White's winning based on king safety. What is this short for? These letters here, knocked out. Yeah. These players got knocked out in their very first match. It was the second round, but they all had buys in the first round because they were so high and mighty. King safety is most important according to the method. You know, sometimes I think some people don't even think of king safety as a strategic element. You know what I mean? Like if you ask somebody to list strategic advantages and disadvantages, a lot of people would say things like, weak pawns, weak squares, better or worse minor pieces, control of an open file. They'd go on and on and on, right? You'd really have to prompt them to get them to mention king safety as a strategic element. Now, That's partly because there's a lot of games where the kings are both safely castled kingside, you know, f2, g2, h2 against f7, g7, h7 pawns, and no one ever tries anything too fancy, right? But in a position where king safety is a factor, it often immediately becomes the number one factor, right? Like, oh, now we're getting knocked around, right? Castle doesn't necessarily mean safe. Like, for example, you can see with Zamilyansky and Matthias Blübaum, their interpretation of a king on being castled, right? So you see in this game here, in the old days, with this pawn structure here, folks, white would have played bishop e2, castles, b4, b5. Tried to make a pawn weakness on the queen side, right? That's the old days, right? Maybe even without h3. You know, bishop e2, castles, a3, b4, b5, rook c1, no. As Jesse says, you know, the minority attack is for peasants. That was the old way. Now look at what Ivan's doing. So king safety is not a given. It's something that you can try to have, but it's also something your opponent can try to take away from you. Like, if your opponent is just nutso, they can force you to play nutso chess with them sometimes, you know? So Zamilyansky did this whole thing. And then Matthias was like, yeah, I'll play your game. I'm down. Let's do it. You know? Knight g4, everybody's hanging. Here we had lines like knight g5, bishop g2, king g1, bishop h1 suggested to us. You know, and beautiful play by Matthias, by the way, folks. I think he's got the advantage. He opens up the C file with this trade. He can hold g5 just fine. Knight f2 and g4 come through. Steps his king aside. I didn't know he would go this violent immediately. I thought his concept was to go rook c8, you know, rook c6, rook c8, rook c2. Just kind of show white that white's rooks were discoordinated in a weird way. He spent some time on this, but I think it might be, you know, trying to resolve things a little bit too quickly. And this is the live position. So he's got a moment to try and kill white's king, you know, while his queen is stuck back here, but she's not, you know, in front of the action. But you always have to be careful, right? There's that stupid pawn on h6, creating back rank mates and stuff. This is where Matthias needs to find a knockout. Ivan's got 2 minutes. Matthias has 9. He's got to find something concrete. Of course, taking on f3 is like stupid because the bishop is currently unable to move, right? So I'm about to show you something really stupid that would never be happening, right? But takes. This rook ending might be lost for black because the king is worse placed with this pawn cramping it. White's rook's getting in to eat. Here, white's king's ready to get in and eat. So he needs to find like the shot right now. We're being told that Svane and Gukesh have drawn this position. Yeah, so Gukesh's a5 was just to trade everything off. He's got a weird way of trading everything off, does Gukesh, but it happens. So, solid game over there. A lot of games are going to be in heavy time trouble right now. It's going to be hard to keep track of all of them. My favorite games are Yakuboyev, Abdusatorov. Oh my god, pawn gets to b3. Zamilyansky and Salem versus Levon. I don't know if I can keep track of 4 games in this kind of time trouble. Here comes the knight to c4. Wow, I guess he calculated knight here, check. King here, check here, and white collects all black's pieces. So Salem deals with the queen. She gets out of the way. And now he might go d5, takes, but queen f5 checks a playable endgame for black. So I think this game's less hectic than those other ones. What on earth happened here? King a2, a5. I just said in this position white was better. He just plays a4. Takes. Oh my god, he's wide open. Queen d5. Would he resign? Or would he play rook c4, rook b8, bishop b4, and stand his ground? The queen would be blocking the bishop. So queen e6 instead. Queen e6, rook here, rook check, bishop there, d5. Surely that wins the game. So what is he planning against queen e6? Queen e6, king a3, rook a8, rook a4, trade, queen a2, king b5. I imagine black's winning. Martinez is a great blitz player. He's got to find the win here in 3 minutes, which can be a little nerve-wracking, but normally he'll play a full game in that time. Queen e6, king a3, maybe d5 check, king b2, rook b8, king c1, goes rook b8 check first. So now if rook b4, he's got queen d5, queen e6. So you can't trade off the rooks like you'd like to because of check. Cutting off the diagonal, there's no rook c4, and if you go here, here. And if you go here, then maybe here. I guess you have to trade the rook first. Oh man, I thought I could go here too. Get a grip, David. Get a grip. Get a grip. What's going on? Rook check. King here. Check. Here, check. That's winning. King here. Checkmate. Yeah, that's all winning. Rook b8. Wow, Abdus Sator might be done right here. King safety, definitely the deciding element. Now, Acratic, I'm giving you a biased sample because I'm looking deliberately at the games where king safety looks like a key factor to me. Like, that's partly how I'm, picking which games I'm looking at. So Van is digging out. The rook from a8 makes its appearance. Van blocks the h-file. He's collected that h6 pawn safely. Bishop comes out. This bishop might go here right now, folks. 6 minutes for Yakubayev against 1.5 minutes for Van Nguyen. Czech player. I think Van Tai Dai, perhaps, are the middle names. Czech Republic. Does bishop h5, gh5, rook h5 threaten anything? I don't know. Maybe just rook to f5 at some point. It just opens the king. I don't know. This is also a Najdorf. Yep. Was king takes b3 a choice, Michael Wang? Could Abdu have done a different move here, like pawn takes b3? I think pawn takes b3, queen d3 would have been hard to defend as well. But yeah, he's now... Oh god, he's played all this? So he's giving an exchange to get rid of that a-pawn. That a-pawn was queening in a lot of lines. But this should be eventually a checkmate for Jose Martinez. He's going to mop up Noterbek Abdusatorov. And Kramnik's going to come rushing in to inspect the chess clock for devices. I did not see their game, No Menesio. I know it ended in a draw. That's it. You've met Navarra. Nice. This is just, this is decisively winning. Both Noterbecks could lose. Van's playing a hell of a defensive game here. People rarely get credit for the defensive games as much as for the offensive games, right? Yakubayev kind of, did a lot of the cooking in this game, right? He He selected the recipe. He brought surprise spices. You know, he was throwing this here and this here and this here, listening to good music, jamming in the kitchen. You know, but Van might pick up the pieces anyway here and win the game. We'll see. This is only game 1 of round 1, right? So Steven Abdusattorov would have 1 foot in the direction of that list, but it's possible to make a comeback if you lose 1 game. You just have to win the next game tomorrow with black in that case. So, I mean, it's a task. It's a task, but, you know, there's pressure. There's always a lot of pressure on all sides. You know, your opponent has to hold with white. They're feeling on the cusp of a big upset. They have to relax and play normally. Volkadov lost. That's true, Sweet Blue. So this could be a terrible day for Uzbekistan. Kazakhstan got eliminated in tiebreaks yesterday. Yakuboyev getting low. Salem versus Aronian. He just defends the G-pawn. Very calm. Every single piece on the board is watching for this D5 break. In rapt attention. Every single piece is expecting the passed pawn to make its move. And Salem keeps waiting. And Black's queen gets in and says, fine, if you won't ever play D5, something bad will happen to you. Oh my god, he doesn't defend the H-pawn. These guys have 10 moves to make, by the way, folks. 10 moves to make. He wants what? Queen H4, A5, Knight C8, A6, B6, Knight D5 or some insanity. I don't know if I believe it. Aronian's wondering if he can take that pawn and win the game. Maybe you should play Knight C4. A4 is cool. A4 is intense, man. He's like, he's wanting it so bad here at Salem. He's trying to get something going. He's got incredible tactical vision. You got to be very, very... Like, if you don't see his idea... Normally you have to look twice because he could have an idea you don't see, right? So you'd be very nervous to do what Levon just did, calling him on it. It's very hard to call a bluff on Salem because the guy does see ideas that you don't see. I think it was Fedoseev who called a bluff against him and got checkmated by one of the most beautiful combinations of all time with a queen sack, rook sack, queen sack, rook sack, 2 bishop checkmate at an open tournament in 2023. Or maybe early 2024, 2023, 2024. So, props to Aronian. Calling the bluff, taking the pawn. Could be winning the game right there. Did Bluebaum find a knockout? After 8 minutes, he went queen h3. Almost a knockout. Check given. Defending the bishop. Okay, so the concept was if you come here, he's going to give check here and then win, and then checkmate with rook g1 or checkmate with rook g3, basically. Okay. So white plays rook g7. If you take on g7, this is check, and then white wins your bishop. So he has to throw in the check to defend his bishop. Then he's going to win a pawn on g7. And he gets a queen endgame up a pawn. Yeah, Zemlyansky's on death's door. Death's door. Good play by Matias. He probably looked that long because he was checking there wasn't something even better, right? Because he was close to mate. But finally, a practical solution when he's down to 3 minutes. He plays the line winning a pawn and giving him very, very good winning chances here. Abdusatorov has resigned. Queen F1 played. D4. The final move, bishop can't take. And if bishop goes back, I think he leaves the rook in the pin and goes here probably, right? I'm always afraid I'm like missing diagonals or which things are blocked by who or what. Lets that rook live, pardons it for a moment. Nice move from Jose Martinez. D4, move 39. A move so brutal that Noterbeck resigns on move 40. People almost always play their 40th move, you know, and then you resign on move 41 when you've got some time to make such a heavy decision. But here, yeah. Here he just gives up. Normally, you know, you play a move like bishop d2 just to, you know, make time control and then you resign on the next move. Either way, he's down. Uh-oh. Yeah, Kubayev, how's he doing? Bishop b5. Queen f6. Okay, there's a threat. Check. Knight g4 is a threat too. Rook h5! Oh my god. So c takes d6 was interesting too, right? Yeah, I don't know for sure what would have happened on cd6. I see there's queen b5, I see there's rook c2, I see there's knight g4, but, you know, cd6 threatens queen e7, which is a pretty major threat. I don't know where the rook would go, if it would go or if it would stay. But rook h5, the move, checks him. King cannot go to f2 because of knight g4. e1, there's queen b4. King d1, there's queen f1. Oh, God. Where do you even go? He goes to d1, allowing queen f1. Oh, man. They've got 6 moves to make here. 6 moves to make here. You know, I think Kramnik fundamentally underestimates how strong some of these people are, you know? I think that's part of it because he doesn't understand that there are people with incredible talent who've had less opportunities. You know, he was given opportunities from a very young age probably, right? Recognized in a chess-playing country, you know, that had chess schools and infrastructure and clubs and leagues and tournaments and you know, then and tons of like experienced coaches all over the place finding and recognizing talented people. That's part of like countries that have a chess machine is that they're basically scouts all across the country in a sense, right? China's like this too, by the way. Very, very few chess players, but there are scouts finding the most talented ones and then bringing them to Beijing to a central training facility. You know, and Russia had that for Kramnik. So, you know, a country with scouts, talented players are identified before age 10, right? That's part of it too, Hearts of Fire, right? But this is another part of it, you know? Like, Jose Martinez probably has, like, just absolutely insane talent, right? Danya, incredible talent. These guys, you know, if scouts found them before age 10 and they got nonstop GM coaching from that point, you know, if they had like lots of great tournaments in their countries. I mean, Martinez is in Mexico. There's not a bunch of super GMs for him to practice with there in great tournaments, you know? So he's later blooming in classical and, you know, and probably never getting to the full potential that he had. But, I mean, he's just a damn talented chess player, right? Okay. Queen f1 coming in from Van. He played that move with 6 seconds on the clock, so he took that move very seriously. King d2. Now he grabs the rook. And now, because he went on the adventure with the queen, I see that was the weight of going for this for Van, is it's not an exchange sack now, it's the rook, right? So white gets a rook back. Both kings are denuded. I would say a perpetual check is the most likely result right here. But black could dream of playing queen d4, queen d5, stopping queen e6. They could dream of holding it all together and playing for more. Can white play a move like king d1? You see Yakubiev thinking, right? I mean, you've got 1 minute on the clock in a time scramble. It feels like you have to play rook e2 to not lose the rook. But he's calculating king d1, right? I mean, that should also be a draw by perpetual, I would think. This is a mighty time scramble here. Rook e2 played, queen d4. Quick move by Van. Now he gets a minute to think on his next move. 3 moves to play. They're at move 37. And Hearts of Fire, part of, it's kind of like two sides of the same coin, right? When you say not being able to accept you're not as good as you were, part of it is like just not understanding the strength of newer, younger competition, right? They repeat once, and they'll make it to move 40. That was move 39. They each have one more move to make. So Yakubiev has to decide whether or not to allow the perpetual, which I think he should. I don't think going this way offers him any extra options, and there's queen c4 for black if they want the draw. And now Van gets to make one final choice. Does he want the draw, or does he want to play on with some version of queen d5, queen d6, or queen d5, queen g5, king h7, queen h5, or rook h2? I think either way, the game will eventually end in perpetual check. So I'm going to go glance at some of the other games. Zemlyansky and Bluebaum, check, h5 coming in. Threatening queen c7, defending queen c7, taking some squares from the king. Central is Yatsk. But Bluebaum's able to hold the extra pawn for now. Did they make time control? Sorry. Did they make time control? No, 2 more moves to play. Salem, what did he have after queen h4? d5. What? He wants the pawn on d5, then he plays a5, then he does this or something? Wow. Okay, Levon might not have predicted that. Plays a5 to stop that in his tracks. Queen b3, disrupting the knight. Defends it from the side. He wants to play rook d2, but there's queen c5. Cuts the queen off. King a7. King a2. What's he going to try and do? Line up like knight b5 or something? Queen f4 going after another pawn. Queen comes around in defense. Does not take the g-pawn. He angles for queen c5. He defends it in advance. We get a trade. And the knight gets to the square he wanted. White's down a pawn, but still has some tactical chances. It's still a mess. 1 more move to make for Levon. Sorry, 2 more moves for Levon. 1 for Salem. So far, Levon has completely justified his decision to grab that pawn, but the position is still, complicated and risky. The knight on d5 is pretty good. Where's his queen supposed to go? Queen d6 is a question. Queen d6 is a question. It might allow rook c8 check. Rook c8, rook c8 looks okay, but he goes to e6. And quickly, queen c5 from Salem, just trying to win that pawn on a5, which would be huge. I mean, I say just, but that would be a big deal. What's the plan on b6? What's the plan on b6? Maybe just queen b5? And just keeping some pressure on. This knight cannot move, actually, so Note that the knight's not really threatening to take anything anywhere. Knight e7 gets played, giving back the pawn. Knight takes, pawn takes, rook takes. No, that's not giving back the pawn. He would still be up a pawn. He'd be winning. Move 41 for Salem. I think he's going to have to concede some move like rook d3, and Levon has done it. Levon has done it. He made it to move 40 off a 30-second increment for over 10 moves and clung to his extra pawn and did not allow any knockout blow from Salem's dangerous pieces. Brilliant. Brilliant for him. Brilliant. So, let's bring in Jesse here as we move into the second time control. Excelente, my friend. Excelente. Yeah. Man, we had an incredible result, Jesse. Incredible result. Abdusatorov lost. You were watching that game. He lost that Najdorf to Alcantara. Jose Martinez. Knocked him out in the middle game. Boom. Yeah. You will. You will. Everybody's just made time control, like as you were walking in. Beber Dude tells me it wasn't a Najdorf. It just looked like a Najdorf. It wasn't a Najdorf. Okay, my bad. Everything looks like a Najdorf to me. Apparently, Yakubayev's game was a Sveshnikov, not a Najdorf either. It also looked like a Najdorf to me. I thought both Noterbecks were playing Najdorfs. Noterbeck and Van Nguyen are doing the more than 3-time repetition. You know, when you really want to win the game and you're repeating and you just keep repeating and your opponent really wants to win too. So they keep repeating instead of claiming the draw. I love those. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's still a tricky game. White's rooks are more active here. And the pawn structure is weird, so it just requires careful play from both players, perhaps. Pranesh says no knight f4. Tries to keep the dog on g2 at bay. Makes sense. Makes sense. I think against a move like h4, he'd be willing to play king g6. It decentralizes the king, but it also unpins his knight. And there's still a lot of pieces on the board, so you can still just fight with the pieces and leave the knight stuck on g2, I think. You can't hear Jesse? No, that's going to be on my side. All right, say something again, Jesse. Not yet. All right, so I got to go to this thing. This thing. Come over here. Do the work. All right, let's try it again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
I bet they can. I think they can hear you.
G5, very ambitious move. I was thinking maybe black should just give up back the pawn with like king e6, rook c6, and I don't know, take it from there, or king e6, bishop f4, lose the pawn somehow. But g5 allows rook c6 and or h4, probably both.
But when you say give back the pawn, black's not up a pawn. The pawns are equal, right?
I'm just saying if he gave up the b6 pawn, I don't think he risks losing.
Okay.
But okay, g5 is very consequential. It's like if you can keep the knight out, then we're doing great. There's no question about that.
Yeah. Because it's not even clear who's going to play for the advantage, right? It's just a very, very complicated position.
Now, intuitively, it would seem like rook c6, like white has some. Well, I mean, I don't know. It feels like I'm at least touching some things. I'm at least touching some things, Mr. Proofs.
Right, but the pawn on g5 means like you're not necessarily threatening rook d6, bishop f4 kind of stuff. What if black just plays b5 and says,
Okay. So imagine rook c6, b5, then I'll play h4.
Mm-hmm. I will happily move my king to g6.
Okay, but is it so happy? Because now when I take, your bishop is pinned.
Yeah. Rough. Rough.
He doesn't care.
Well, I mean, I had to do it, so.
And then f4.
It's not my pieces. I'll live with the consequences later. You're playing f4 for white?
That was my thought anyway.
Okay.
I might take it back.
Now your knight's going to come to life, huh?
Maybe you just play knight d5 and say, I don't care about anything.
It's true that I don't care about many things. Let's play knight d5. Let's play knight d5. You only live once or twice.
All right, rook c8.
Rook c8, rook c8.
Rook a6.
Rook a6. The man was just born evil. That's just how he was.
Anyways, this is a little scary. Whether black can hold this, maybe.
Yeah, that got scary. Now it's all consequences.
But I guess the other thing is lots of draws, right? But just almost all the games I was following, besides Arjun, turned out to be draws.
Okay. Rook b7 played by Vincent. The games that I looked at were pretty bloody. The ones I happened to look at. I saw this Hari Krishna against Daniel Darda game. Holy smoke. That was just a brutal game, Jesse. You can click through that at some point. It won't take you very long. All right. Yakubayev and Van Nguyen have finally stopped repeating positions and agreed to meet again tomorrow to settle things. Great game by them. Really, really fascinating. Well played. Love it. Martinez won this beautiful game. Keimer, let's see, Geary.
Oh, I got to look at this game, but I mean, because I thought, all right, queen f4. He plays f5. That's a stunner.
Wait.
I guess it's force, but still. It says force, but still.
Which game are you looking at?
I'm looking at how Abdu lost this thing.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe he tried too hard, honestly. It looks a little bit like a blue-bound gambit is what it looks like.
You know, I would look at this move 31, where he retreats his queen.
Yeah.
And then black's queen is just amazing, right? You can't walk away like that. You know, there are times you just can't make concessions. I mean, you don't necessarily have to take on f5, but you have to stand your ground, I think.
Definitely, I think after queen takes d5 and move 28, white had previously told himself, I'm doing great. Yeah. And then all of a sudden realized it's not so simple for a pimple.
Right. I guess the fact that black has pawns on c4 and b4 should have told me it wasn't a Najdorf because, well, black would have played cd4 at some point. Okay. Anyway, be that as it may, queen g4.
Well, that's a huge result, dude. If Abdu goes out, yeah. Oh my god.
Yeah, no, I mean they're getting crushed. I think once he plays queen g2, he must be worse. Like it just looks terrible. Actually, he just gets beat down. Oh my god. Okay, Aronian might have a shot, Jesse, with other favorites dropping out. I mean, he's pretty old to go through this tournament. This is a very grueling tournament. This knockout, folks. Anyone who doesn't know like how relatively easy or hard different tournaments are, this World Cup for the players who make it to round 6 or 7, This is one of the most grueling tournaments there is in chess nowadays. Maybe number one. I mean, do you know any other tournament that's 25 days long nowadays, Jesse?
It's a long term.
They used to do this all the time, guys, back in Soviet Russia. But
seems like Aronin's opponent's doing fine, right? Looks like he might go. Oh, I see. Aronin's black. Yeah. Okay.
yeah,
No, yeah, he's doing good.
he grabbed a pawn in the time scramble and then fought off White's initiative, and he's survived. He survived here to a pawn up endgame at time control, and Salem has been staring at the situation for for 10 minutes now. But the knight on d5 is pinned and is getting traded, and yeah, he's just looking for how to put up some resistance, but he's in bad shape.
Mm-hmm.
Geary just played this weird move, Queen H1. Very weird. I guess on Queen A3 he's just going to check and take A4. Okay, so he's just trying to draw. He was better early in this game, but that does not look so good now. All right, let's refresh here and see what all the results are. Because right now, the only games I really have on my radar of great interest is Kamer versus Pranesh. And then, I've got Zemlyansky and Salem struggling down a pawn. So let's see. Svan and Gukesh draw. Arjun took out Volkodov. That was brutal. Prague and Hovanesian drew.
Jeffrey Zhang lost, dude. Damn.
Who did he play?
Liam Lee.
I've got Liam Lee going pretty far in my bracket. Cameron Pranesh, Gladura and Wei drew. Martinez wins. Grandelius and Mamedyarov draw. Lorenzo Lodici and Michael Adams are playing a queen endgame in which Adams might be winning. I don't know what you think, but
people wanted me to cover Gen X there. And I was like, I don't know, bud.
Yeah, I heard you.
I do like the idea of covering the greatest Italian player since Greco. I like that, dude.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but you don't want you root for Adams, but you don't want to be caught covering some old guy who has no chance.
Let's see here. Could we take a look at the Bluebaum game?
Yeah.
We haven't checked in on him for a long time.
I have.
The other thing is
I
obvious to say is that Gukesh doesn't beat another chump. It's rough.
Yeah. I mean, he had black and, everything got traded.
Okay, so he's got chances to win this thing for sure.
Bluebaum, yeah.
Oh, yeah, this is rough. This is really rough.
He wants to take the pawn on d4 with check because of queen b7. But even if he doesn't take it with check, he can take it.
Exactly.
And then just push his d pawn.
So might be hard technically, but should be winning.
Probably.
Yeah. Okay. Good to know. The Keimer situation. The kid, the Pranesh kid played your king g6 move and just sacked the pawn.
Maybe queen g8 is the worry, not queen b7. Like if queen d4, queen g8, king f5, queen c8, king.
But their king
e4 though should get away.
You go e4, yeah.
Unless there's the weird thing where you walk the king around their own queen, queen g4, king d1, queen d1,
No, but queen g4, we play king e3.
Okay.
And you're toast.
I thought you could also go back to e5 with something I'd already seen, but king e3. Yeah. So he could take on d4 right here. Blühbaum did not play like a Tauschmaschine today, by the way. He tried to tear this kid to shreds. He played extremely aggressively.
Well, dude, he's the master of the openings. He's not going to play. Wow.
King
Well, the kid
G1
also
played.
played. The kid also played very aggressively.
Oh, yeah. No kidding. Okay, so the procedure for Adams, who has a very similar endgame to Blühbaum, is probably to put the queen here and then push this pawn. And on check, king here, and the queen's covering these checks. With this queen on a square like e4, I could see the d-pawn going all the way. Now there's also the potential for white to just go for counterplay over here. But black's pawn is one step faster. You know, and that'll be game.
Yeah. Okay, interesting.
And of note, the last move that Lodici found here was king g1. I feel like that was just to get out of queen e4 check. I mean, that's a move that does nothing, right? Adams plays queen e1, moving him back here, and I assume the idea is to put the queen on e4 and play d4. Thank you for the tip, Ivan. I'm gonna try and go find that. Artemyev and MVL Giroux today. Deep tie on gauche is trying to beat Sargsyan here. Look at this one for 1 second, Jesse. The only way white wins is by trapping that knight. If the knight gets back to the king side, there's like no hope, but he might have it trapped right here.
That's one of the dojo endings. It looks like it's trapped.
I think the move might be rook c7 here. Gauche is calculating. Rook c7, so if the knight goes to a5, it's already trapped, right? So you go rook c7, then you bring your king across.
But then imagine in that scenario, if your king is way to the side of the board, we might be able to generate play quickly with a g5.
Sometimes with g5, even losing the knight, you could still draw, right?
But you still have to organize it. You probably have to play king h7, h6 first. Oh yeah, that's a hot endgame. Oh my god.
This endgame, yeah, this could be an endgame study, just as Sweet Blues is saying. Oh man, I don't even know.
That's some exciting positions right here. Okay, so I'm gonna say the Anish game is a draw.
I agree with you.
T-toss.
I'm even going to close it.
T-toss.
I'm just going to close it. Oh, man.
Okay.
I don't need to see any more of that game. So Jeffrey lost with white to Liam. Oh, man.
Yeah, that's brutal.
Titov and Pranav.
So I guess in a lot of ways it's better to be black first, right? And maybe I don't know how to play for a draw, honestly. I don't know how to do it. But maybe I feel like if you choose a weenie opening, you might end up losing. It's not just because you play weenie doesn't mean you're safe.
Does it look like Titas is in trouble?
Well, I was looking at it. At first, it looks like he's in trouble, but I think if white can't actually mate you, I don't know how it's going to be done. It's hard to move the knight. It's hard to actually move anything, and your B pawn's going to fall.
Right. So Titas could take on b3,
Right.
or try to fight around his king somehow. If you don't take b3, white will take b6. So
Right.
it's a very critical move here. Very critical move.
King G5 is also a move, though.
Mm-hmm.
There's no reason we can't do King G5.
Yeah, I think King G5, Knight E7 looks very bad, actually.
Bishop G3.
Blundered that. My apologies.
Yeah.
That was brutal. Okay, so King G5. What would white do? What's the plan?
Maybe if Rook F6 is forced.
Well, that's good news for black. Those pieces look like they're barely hanging on for life.
Yeah, and you can't really. It's rough. Okay, so maybe it would go something like this: Rook F6, Rook B3, and then maybe something like Rook F7 or Rook F8, intending E6.
Man, he's having trouble moving. And if D4, E6. Okay. Okay, the pawn is fast. That's weird. I don't know what's going on here.
No Nintendo either, bud.
On Blowhot, the knight can't really move. I tried to move it as well. It can't really move because of bishop G3 check, which leaves not just a check, but it's actually mate. So I blundered that as well a moment ago. Wow.
There's some spicy coconuts happening here, my friend.
Man, I don't know what's going on here at all in that endgame, or the Kamer one is the other one that's really violent.
Mm-hmm.
So King G7 was played. Kamer collected his pawn. Bishop A3. I mean, now white's up a pawn. Seems like it must be good for Vincent, right?
Okay, but the knight is about to land on D5.
Mm-hmm.
And your knight on G2 is I don't know, you got to do something. And it's very unclear where that rook wants to go. I don't know where it wants to go.
I mean, it's
Maybe
probably going to trade on
C4.
C8 in a moment, right?
Well, you could play rook C4 first.
Yeah.
It's kind of maybe a nice idea.
Yeah, just hang out.
And knight D5, move your rook somewhere. Maybe just a simple rook B3 or something.
Mm-hmm.
But it's going to be a... Yeah, so let's say we think white's a little bit better there.
Yeah, I mean, white's up a pawn. Got to be better. Got to be better. Vincent hat Turm C4 gespielt. Wie gesagt, Jesse. Nice one. Heute bist du Großmeister.
Uh-oh, someone's klingling me.
Somebody's dinglinging him. Es klingelt by Jesse. Es klingelt. Okay. God, this is the year for German chess fans. Jesse and I have been talking about it. Maybe on stream, maybe off stream. Off stream yesterday. This is the best that German chess players have been in ages. Yeah, Richie, yeah. You believe like we could potentially have 2 German players in the candidates? That would be insane, right? If you told somebody that 2 years ago, they wouldn't have believed you. If 2 years ago, in the previous cycle, right, for the 24 candidates, somebody told you, like, yeah, there might be 3 or 4 Indians this year, but in 2 years, there's going to be 2 German players in the candidates. You would have said, which 2 players? Who's changing federations? Come on. Okay, I know Vincent's a long way away still. Long way away still. But
Oh, I called Rook C4. I'm a GM today.
what did you not hear anything I said to you before?
Well, I had to go do the Klingeling, dude.
I was before your Klingeling. I told you, heute bist du Großmeister.
Oh, okay. Good. Oh, now I don't know if I have the energy to calculate, but let's do a little calculation here, bud.
Okay.
So let's do Gosh Sargsyan.
Gosh, Sargsyan. Okay.
So you're talking about Rook C7.
Oh gosh, I guess I better start guessing here.
Oh.
That's for you, Danya. That's for you.
Rook C3, Knight A5, Rook C7. So White needs King D3, 1, King C3, King B4, King A5. So he needs 4 Tempe, and Black's move now. So essentially, Black has 5 Tempe to start some drama. And so if G5 right now, then I don't think you can go win the knight.
Yeah, problem with G5. Well, a problem with G5 though is your king's cut off, right?
Totally agree.
And White doesn't have to trade, freeing the H pawn, so they can start playing a move like King here.
But let's say I play GH. Now I've taken your pawn. And are you really going to stop my knight from coming back in?
No, I'm not. I can't capture the knight.
Yeah. So that's my question on G5. Like, maybe, no, I don't know. So I don't know. It looks like G5 should hold the game. King H7 also might hold the game.
But if even G5, GH works, then what am I doing?
Yeah.
Maybe it's a draw. So Blowhot is saying the name is pronounced a little bit like ghost.
Ghosts. I think that's how you say it. You don't say the T at the end, but you probably say ghosts.
I don't know. Blowhot's putting a T on it.
There's no T in the name, bruv.
I know, but the name is not an English name, right? The name comes from another language, which Blowhot probably speaks better than you.
No T. See, bud? It's no T. Ghosts. I'm saying it right, bro. Ghosts.
Okay. Okay, if you say so.
All right.
Like ghost, but hard H. What's a hard H?
Go.
Ghost.
Ghost.
I mean, people can't spend 3 seconds saying his name each time. They got to get it done with. King H7 played.
King H7 played, which is the sensible way, just because it's still going to take a gazillion tempi to go win that night.
Mm-hmm.
And then our king will be close. Honestly, if you go win the night, you might lose. Mm-hmm. You could conceivably lose at that point.
Right.
So,
and White can always go take this H pawn here, right? Like knight B7 takes here, rook back to D5.
Maybe that's a thought. Yeah.
Oh, look, no king F7 because of rook check. Like normally, you would try and come back and bring the knight to D6 now. Wait a minute.
That might have been a blunder, Rito.
That rook D5 is still kind of unpleasant for the knight.
Mm-hmm. No, maybe.
And Black's almost frozen here, like can't move. You see, like if f5, king f4, then you drop the f5 pawn. Hang on, rook c5, what would he do? I think after knight b7, check, maybe he's got to try king g8, rook d5, king f8.
That's probably a draw.
Okay, king f4.
King e7.
King
or g6.
f5.
Knight d8.
Knight d8. King g6, knight e6.
That's complicated. I don't know. I don't feel great about it, actually, for black. Okay. The Diptychon might have been up to something here. Oh, have you been announcing the Goa thing, bud?
I put it in the title.
So, my friends, if you go and sign up for the dojo and use code GOA, you get 20% off the first month. What a deal. And you could be part of the dojo. How about that? And then at the dojo, we learn how to pronounce names like Gos.
Gos. I feel like taking on h5 is the way to put real pressure on black here. So running our king all the way to a5, not doing it for me.
No, I think King H7 might have just been under the assumption that if we let the knight, if we move the rook from C7, we'll be fine, but it's not clear that it's fine. Let me try to defend his honor again, Mr. Bruce. So rook C5.
Yeah.
Knight B7.
Yeah.
Rook H5. Rook C5 played, by the way. King G8.
Okay.
Rook D5.
Yeah. For sure.
King F8.
King f8 makes sense.
King F4.
Yeah, could also be e4, but let's go to f4 for now.
And I think I should play G6.
G6. Okay. Now, rook D7.
So it's important that before, if you had gone to E4, that would have lost to knight C5.
Wait, I've got another move, Jesse, instead of G6. Okay. G5, check.
Ooh, very good. Check to the Miserable King. Game over.
Game over.
Game over.
So let's switch from King F4 to King E4, if we want to have anything to talk about.
All right, so King E4.
I looked at Rook takes D8. There's Elmer Florian, and it was a draw. Yeah, I calculated it.
All right, so G6.
Okay, now G6. Now Rook to D7 is not so good.
No.
Problems. Problemitos in the casitos.
We actually, when we were GMs today, because we have got the line up to King F8 has now been played.
Yeah. Yeah. Weirdly, Jesse, after King E4, G6, like I can't move my rook anywhere without getting forked. I'd be like, I don't even know what I'm doing. What am I doing? What are you doing, Bruce? Oh, chump.
Okay. All right, so that looks drawn.
Hanging in there. Maybe. Sargissian. Pranesh. Rook's trade. Knight moves. Stuff happens.
Dude, Keimer's making, he's kind of like the Magnus Carlsen of our day. He's really making a career out of playing these little end games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He is methodical as all method. Maybe next he'll just play bishop d2, knight e3. Put that little
Yeah, he has to play king f1 first, but yeah, something like that.
put that little pony on c4. Why do I need to play king f1 first? Oh, because you take d4.
Yeah.
Well, that's an accident. Accidents happen.
Yeah, this is looking pretty good for white.
Okay, so we're saying maybe king f1.
Yeah, that's what he's thinking about. King f1. And
He could
I
also
think that,
he could also play something like h4, right? Like you suggested before, with the idea of hg, fg, rook b6 at some point.
yeah. Yeah, okay, good point. King f1 is just the el natural, but h4 is also a thought. Yeah, h4 is also an evil move to deal with. Actually, h4 might be a mistake due to f4.
Mm-hmm. I was wondering about that.
It looks like a mistake because that 92. So I think h4 is a great idea, but we probably need to play king f1 primero, as they say in Spanish. Primero.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's funny. The knight on g2 is technically poor, but it's doing all kinds of things, actually.
It's poor. He should try to improve it.
But also, like, someday I might need 91 to block some dirty check. I have 93. I have supporting h4. I have the f4 square.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a fianchetto knight, but in terms of fianchetto knights, I don't know if I've ever seen a better fianchetto knight.
It's like I don't know if I've ever seen a better aircraft without wings.
All right, I'm saying Levon is winning. I'm calling that one.
Okay, calling it for Levon. Let's have a look at Jesse's big call. So after 879 seconds, I don't know why my thing's displaying like that. He played rook dc4. Levon then thought for 1640 seconds and traded that knight. And took it and took it and took it. And now he's up 2 pawns? Salem's goose is very cooked. Yeah. Why did he give a second pawn there? I don't understand. He this was the move I thought. Oh, it doesn't matter. Knight c6 and then knight b4. Oh. That could have been seen in less than 1640 seconds, David, honestly. If you were awake. Dang, so there's just no way to defend d5 here. That was move 40, was 97, and I don't think that Salem had properly seen it coming in time scramble. He may not even have known that his king was on the diagonal with the queen till he took stock on move 41.
Yeah.
Oof. So I think move 40 here, queen c5, was a mistake. You know, it was a hopeful move, but left him dead to knight e7. Wow. This is cooked. Cooked. 2 pawns up? Plus this thing to attack?
Yeah.
Levon. Wow. Okay. Matias repeated. Then took on d4. Very pro. And here comes the d pawn. He's repeating some more. He loves his repetitions here. It's like he's psychologically tormenting his opponents.
He's making sure that d3 works.
Yeah.
And what's cool and just instructive about how he played it, he's like, I don't care. It doesn't, in the queen end game, doesn't matter about how many pawns. It matters who's got the pass one, baby.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just that D pawn. He gave the B pawn. He gave the A pawn. And now he's prepared against queen e3 to simply play d2. The kid's days may be numbered here. He came out swinging, did Ivan. You saw him go g4, h4 in that Queen's Gambit exchanged. Almost nobody's playing the peasant plan anymore, Jesse. They're all playing wild g4 variations.
Oh, Mr. Bruce, looks like I gotta get. Dang it.
You got to get.
Yeah. I'm gonna see you at noon, though, right?
Yeah. Here, let me send you a little present, okay?
A present.
Yeah. It's just a link to a game in the Discord.
Oh.
It'll take you 10 seconds, you know. Just enjoy that at some point.
All right, bud. I'll see you in a little couple hours, and definitely tomorrow.
All right.
All right. Bye.
You'll have to ask him another time, Jackson. Because that's it for Jesse. That's it for him. Jackson! Jackson! Jesse's down. Jesse's out. Abdusattorov in danger, right, of joining this list here. Not yet. Not yet. In danger. In danger. But Jackson, how do you want Jesse to take Bluebaum seriously? Like, you want Jesse to think that Bluebaum's a top 10 player, or what do you mean by seriously? I think Jesse probably thinks that Bluebaum's like a 2690 to 2710 player right now. But what would be serious or unserious? Any more moves here? Let's see. Ghost spent a long time on this next one. King e4 played after 9 minutes. G6 looks pretty clear for Sargsyan. To think he has a chance to do well in the candidates. Yeah, I don't think Jesse's going to believe in that until he does well in the candidates. I'm not going to believe it until he does well in the candidates either, Jackson. So if you've got issues with Jesse, you can already take them up with me if you feel like it. I mean, does your comment suggest that you think Bluebaum is going to finish in the top 2 or 3 in the candidates? Yellow says, I think Bluebaum will be 2nd or 3rd. Holy moly. That's madness. Do you realize who's going to be at the candidates? With no stress and no real chance of winning, people will press against him and overpress. I mean, not for 14 rounds. You think he'll get -1 or 2, but I think that's pretty good. I mean, if you think doing well in a tournament is scoring a minus score, then I guess, yes, we think that Bluebaum could do well at the candidates. Yeah, -7's a lot worse. He probably won't do that badly. But none of us have said that he would do as badly as that. G6 played. by Sargisian. Lodici and Adams, our other queen endgame. D4 comes in. Queen G5 to prevent further encroachment. And against D3, you could play Queen E3. Question is, can Black play Queen F3 check now, maybe? Adams played D3, allowing Queen E3. Queen D5 threatening D2 from this angle. The king stops him. Comes in from this angle, given some checks. But White's got a perpetual with this triangle threatened. Checkerino, Checkerino, Checkerino. Und ja, was willst du dann? Uh-oh. I don't see Mickey's plan myself. Hi, Awad. What says chat? How old am I? 44. Yeah, Proust just comes from Prussia. You know, at some point, one of my ancestors, they wanted to give him a last name. And I guess he wasn't, you know, a shoemaker or a mason or anything. So they just said, oh yeah, he's the guy from Prussia. Knight comes around. If king h1, there's rook here. Takes the b pawn. Gets behind the d pawn. Pranav is up 3 pawns, but it's not clear if he's, you know, winning, drawing, or losing, actually. Have I ever been to Prussia? I'm not sure the exact range of Prussia on a map up against the current maps of the world, but I mean, was it still Prussia when they had the war with France in the 1800s? I've been to northern Germany, so I feel like there's a decent chance that Prussia extended that far at some point. I know it started a bit further east. Yeah, I'm looking at an expansion of Prussia in the 1800s, and I've definitely been there on a map. Wow, somebody said maybe g4 check, king g4, e6 is the way to go. And then it happened. Why throw in g4? Why is he not playing e6 immediately? Can you tell us? Barajas? Like, I hadn't yet figured out what's right or wrong with this move. With the idea that if the rook moved somewhere, we would just take. Maybe the rook could go here, but this should be an easy win, this rook endgame. So what was wrong with this? King g6 and king f7. Okay, you're saying here black would just bring the king back towards this pawn. And then if check, king here. Wow. Wow. Very interesting. So check, the king can't go back. It's forced forwards, and then the e-pawn goes, and now it's out of range of that king. Now, it also means this king's in a mating net if this bishop could get here. But basically, white doesn't need the two g-pawns necessarily to win an endgame. If these get traded, a single g-pawn and a b-pawn could be enough, right? So something like this, 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 and this is perfectly easy to win for white. No moves yet after e6. Pranav, representing David's junior team against the evil teams of Jesse and Kostya. Despicable, despicable lots, both of them. Ask away, Sanju. Sorry, perhaps Sanjula. Blowhot thinks that white's got this. Knocked out, Heidegger. Knocked out. Those are top players who've been kicked out of the competition. There's not an easy way to show the standings in this kind of a tournament, right? Other than like a gigantic bracket. And I can't show the gigantic bracket on my screen reasonably. So I'm listing the highest rated players, those who are very likely candidates for the candidates tournament, right? The kind of players we've seen in previous candidates and the kind of people we'll see in future candidates. Just listing those who have already been knocked out and will not be making it. Exactly, Foos. Awful, awful, awful. Do I agree with Fabi that Levon could win? So far, it's possible. He's going to make it through this round, it looks like. Okay, we've got a variation suggested to me. Black has bishop e5 after knight d2. e6, rook e1, knight d2, bishop e5. And it's good that we listened. It's good that we listened here. Because Cliff has a very good point. This move is quite relevant to the variation. So king g4, e6, rook e1. What would he do? Bishop b4 was just played instead. Covering e7 this way. I thought white could just play e7 in response to this. Oh, it's check. I think that was with the pawn on g3 that I'd imagine this e7 move here. Okay, so here this check. He moves. King f5. Und now was? Yeah, was. E7. If bishop takes, rook d2. Perhaps no. Wait, hang on. Bishop takes rook d2. Let's not be too hasty. G3. Okay, yeah, that's okay. So we'd expect maybe rook e1 here from black. Rook e1. Oh, rook e1, why he's going to take with the rook. That was a sneaky line from Pranav. That's a sneaky line. The point is on bishop d2, then you take the rook, right? And of course here we get this endgame we wanted with these two pawns. There's still work to be done to win this endgame, but he has chances for sure. Foos, you're wondering after bishop b4, could he have taken immediately here? Holy moly, Foos. Nearly. That's an insane line. They must have been calculating this stuff. This is critical stuff, because if takes, you push, right? And if rook takes, knight takes. Wow. So maybe check here. Check here. Check here. D6, knight C4. There, knight takes. Oh my god. You think Loifa f4? Where? Bishop d2. E7. This? Is this black's draw? Hang on, rook d2, bishop d2, e7, bishop f4, g3, king f3. That looked pretty forcing. Did I miss something? That looks like an amazing refutation of rook d2, bishop d2. The goal is to push, right? You could throw in this. That's insane. 95, right? Just trying to block the file and give the king room to not get mated by this. So I hadn't played 95 the first time through. 95. This is like an endgame study right here. Right? Because I mean this kind of variation, this is exactly what endgame studies look like. Is variations like this. So this is rook d2. Something else has happened in the game already. 95. You could go king h4, staying in range of g3, but white could always push you back with g3. And it feels like black should lose. Knight e5. Knight e5. I don't see black's defense here. Check. Here. Check. If king takes, rook g1 here, right? But king g2. God, now if we could play king g4, we could give a perpetual with the rook, but the knight's covering that square. If instead of taking this, if you could legally play king g4, then you could get a perpetual. Here it looks lost, right? Is king f4 also a perpetual? King here, mate. King here. Rook check, king here, and you can't pick up the queen. And check here. Is there a chance black draws this? Bishop e1 to b4? I guess so. That's one of the longest, wildest variations I've ever seen in endgame. It's got to be all wrong. Or 90% wrong? Or 10%, but important missing moves? I don't know. He did not go for rook d2. He played rook d4 check, then pushed. Black played rook e1. Gives another check. Nobody knows what's going on with any of these moves, right? Repeats once, takes that pawn, takes there, and looks at the a pawn. Tries to trap white's king, g3, to control some dark squares. It looks like a probable win for white, right? The 2 pawns up, but not guaranteed yet. But it seems like Titas's best chances have slipped away here. Pranav, amazing at these little endgame calculations, which, as you just saw, can be quite tricky. Those little variations just now, it was so easy to miss something in them. There's a way in which middle games are more complicated because there's more pieces on the board, and there's a way in which end games are sometimes really complicated because the pieces have so many squares available, right? You've got less pieces, but the board's opened up, and so the individual pieces have, you know, they've got 10 moves instead of 3. Cecchino. I would think the king goes up to keep the g-pawn defended. But I guess king g1, bishop g3, you'd have knight a5. So in theory, you don't really need to keep the pawn defended. But he comes up nevertheless. And I was also thinking he can make some space for his king, potentially with check or check. So he's not really in a body bag there. King backs up on its own. Because white's basically threatening to do... No. If they do knight a5, bishop a5, rook check, rook blocks as a draw. And if rook check, then king here attacks the rook. So I don't see like an obvious threat from white. But anyway, king backs up, white checks. If he comes back, what's happening? He goes here. So now on knight a5, bishop a5, rook d5 is an easy win. But knight a5, his plan is probably rook e3. Oh, yeah, Sushan. Inner engineering. So Sanjula's question from earlier was like, how do you keep yourself in a kind of form where you're prepared to handle critical moments, time scrambles, you know? It's very, very hard to be ready for time scrambles. You have to not only have your calculation in good shape, but your nerves and all that kind of stuff. Rook d3. So he defends against rook e3 and threatens knight a5. And black brings the king closer. So against knight a5, there's bishop a5, and then blocking. Check king f4. The king kind of encroaches on your king. Maybe knight e3 here could improve the knight to some other routes. No, he goes back to d5. Okay. Now here, I'd initially thought that maybe the issue would be king to e6. Does he want to put his rook on the g file maybe? Huh, still really tricky here. Wait a minute, that's a good point, Barajas. Why not this move? Wouldn't trading rooks be completely winning for white? King e6 played, yeah. It's not easy to answer your question, Sanjula, as you might have guessed, right? Because basically, you know, there are many people who haven't mastered it, you know. I mean, one part of it is you have to have your skills up, so you have to practice calculation. But another part is you have to get yourself ready for pressure situations, right? Which different people might do in different ways. Wouldn't it be nice for white to maybe bring their king out? There we go. There we go. That's a nice big improvement. I'd love to see this king get out here. Take squares away from the king. Make it less devastating to lose the g-pawn. If your king's closer to the queen side, it's easier to trade the a-pawn for the g-pawn and then get over there with the king. And keep those pawns. Yeah, this endgame I found very tricky. Let's see how some of the other ones are going. So after g6, was there anything to be done? Rook d2, making space for the king, going after the pawn. Check, and now just g5. Draw. Okay. So, Sargsyan defends that. And it seems like it was drawn. Let's look. Rook c7 is a big mistake. Here, the engine says that he could win with king centralization. And against g5, king d5. And we wrap up the knight before the pawn gets anywhere. And if something like knight here, of course you just attack it and it can't get away. Wow, king e4. Rook c3 was the only winning move, so that was correct. Nicely played there. And then king e4 necessary. With the idea of king d5. And if knight here, then probably king d5 still. So there's still no knight d8, rook c8. Now this would be the most threatening move for black. Sort of maybe threatening knight d8 to save the game. The thing is, you could play, in theory, rook c7 and the knight can't get away, right? But the knight can go back to a5 and it's threatening to go to b3, so you have to come back. So the winning move here is rook c8, hard to find. Knight a5, and then rook b8. g5, rook b5 will be in time. Whew. Welcome to the dojo, legend. Glad to have you. Yes, Sushan, I don't think Nepo will be back in the top 10. There's too many other people who want to be in the top 10 more than he does at this point. And so, you know, there's this like hilarious interview where Anish Giri said that there were something like 15 top 10 players in the world. I don't know if you saw it. On the one hand, it almost sounds like nonsensical. But then actually it was one of the most amazingly prescient little clips I've ever seen. In it, he mentions, you know, like Abdusattorov will fall out of the top 10, you know, and then he'll come back into the top 10 and etc. It was amazing. And then he was right. And who would have thought who would have thought that Abdusattorov would fall out of the top 10, you know, as the detail, as like a detail explaining the point. So part of the reason this is such an important point is there's so many strong players right now that to be in the top 10, you're competing with, you know, you're competing with a large number of really good players, right? There's so many good players right now. So yeah, I don't see Nepo getting back up there. He's going to start getting older. He's going to start losing motivation. He's lost some motivation and it's going to be hard to recapture it. So how could you improve yourself to beat an IM? Pick the right IM, legend. If you play against me, you can probably beat your first IM. Or you could find somebody twice my age. No, seriously, if you join the training program, follow the training program, right? You'll see. You have to improve everything to go up a level. You know, if you're an FM and you want to become an IM, you probably have to work on almost everything. You'll get there. Okay, so indeed, this game ends in a draw. Lorenzo Lodici saves the queen endgame against Michael Adams. I thought that he was lost here. D4 is correct. Queen G5. And now I thought Queen F3. You can even see my arrow from before, and the computer confirms this is the correct move. You got to come here. Here, take it, and then re-centralize the queen. Oh, man. I hadn't even seen you could take all those pawns with check. I just had the instinct that queen f3 would be the right move. So that was Adam's one chance. You've joined, and what should you do now? Go do the first suggested task on your task list. So you go like here to your profile. Oh, let me sign in. Go to your task list and just click on the first thing and do it. Yeah, there's this section here. Welcome to the dojo. These are the first tasks to do, just so you know what's going on. But you can also just click on the first task it gives you here for today and just get right into it. Why not d3? He plays d3 in the game, and then white's able to play queen e3, and the king's able to come across and deal with the pawn. See? Once white's king is in front of this pawn, the pawn can't win on its own anymore. And now you could go queen h1, queen h2, but the queen's covering g3. So then you just have one extra doubled pawn, and it's not probably going to be enough to win that endgame. My favorite chess player? Maybe Mikhail Tal? Garry Kasparov? Maybe one of those two. Not only did they play great, but they wrote the best chess books. Oh, why not the queen f3 check and then that? Queen f3 check, king here, here. With your queen here, white can now check here and here. Right? So the queen needs to get back to cover one of these squares at minimum. Right? And if you're wondering about queen f8, white can collect this pawn here. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know that there's a quick answer to your question, Sanju. It's a very, very, very tough question. It would require a long discussion. King e6 played here, king f3. And see, now that his king's closer to the queen side, he gives the g pawn for the a pawn. Brings the knight back to a nice square. And he's on his way. He's on his way, Pranav. Yeah. See if Bluebaum has converted this one. d3. Queen here. Check. I'm guessing he's won the game by now. We're just going to catch up. d2. And he took it. Beautiful. He can cover these side checks with a queen trade because the king's not in front of the pawn. Right? And if this king could go to e2, right, that would be the difference. The king was kept away from the passed pawn. Right? Compared to the Adams game. Salem and Levon. So rook d5, king b6 is some counterplay. So he just brings his king up and then pushes past with this. Go, Levon. Perfection. That was great. I feel like king f2 would also be winning here. Does he need that technique with rook f7? King f2. Rook somewhere here. That's why he didn't want to put his king in front of the f pawn. A final trick, right? Although this should still be winning for black, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. So maybe king f2 also still wins. But this technique was nice. Definitely playing training games is a very good tip from Sushan. That's something that I do. Play training games. Try to take them very seriously. So Zamolyansky down. Kamer Pranesh maybe still playing. Let's have a look. Bishop d6. King f1. Knight d5. Bishop out of the way. King defends the bishop. Preparing knight e3. Whoa. Rook a2. Kamer's down to seconds. The knight gets out of g2. g4. Holy moly. Oh my goodness. Kamer showing 0 seconds as the knight comes to d5. Feels to me like Pranesh might be saving the game, but rook e3 is a shot! Oh, that simple little move is a shot! I didn't even see this move coming. Wow. Okay, so rook's got to take. Suddenly these pawns are alive. King g5. King g5, knight here, bishop here. Knight c6, defending d4 with tempo on the bishop, and then maybe e4 to hold it all together. King f4 coming. I don't know. Bishop goes to d2. No king g5. Well, this is interesting. Well, I could play king f2 or e4. Feeling a little bit nervous. Knight f6, bishop e3, d5, king g5. Looks okay for black. King g5, knight takes c3. Welcome to the dojo, David. Oh my god. Okay, he's got to play the bishop move. It's already tempoed. This is attacked. King f2. King g5. e4. Hey, Joao. Thanks for the assist, everybody, on that bishop. And doing it in that very tactful way where you don't say, how could you be an IM? Which is what people often say to me online. All right, so e4 or king f2. King f2 gives black the extra option of king h3, which doesn't look good for black. But if king f2, king g5, are we really doing anything other than e4 to protect that pawn? Let's say we start with e4, king g5. What's our next move? Other question. I don't know. Maybe black's still drawing. Yeah? Yeah, to be good under pressure, you could, prepare yourself mentally for different scenarios. You could go through scenarios in your head. You can just log a bunch of experience so it doesn't matter to you as much because you've been there before. You can try recreating high pressure stakes in your training. You can try and do internal work to not care so much about the results so you actually won't be under pressure because you're just there to play chess, not to win or lose. So Like, that's what I've done for myself, is I don't care if I win or lose, so I'm not really under pressure anymore. So there's a few little tips there. Hey Nemtomi, welcome to the round. We're near the end here of round 3.1. First game of round 3. Most sensational result, perhaps Abdusatorov losing with white to Jose Martinez Alcantara. Wow, Vincent down to seconds again. Maybe King F2, King G5 gets played. This pawn keeps the king out of here. So maybe now you go knight here. Maybe you play this move first, kicking the bishop away. That's possible too. Right? You could do something like this. Then here. Black almost wins that endgame instead of white, so that was very risky for white, what I just did. King e2 did get played, though. Bishop a5, e4, h4. Okay, those are all the moves I suggested so far. King e3. Wait, this is exactly my line. Yeah. Well, it's fine to root for both players, Parajas, you know? And then sometimes, you know, one of them wins or loses, and you just have to, you know, learn to understand, as we were discussing just now with Sanju's question, like, you just have to learn to understand it's not that important if you win or lose, right? Like, sometimes you might win, sometimes you might lose, sometimes the player you like might win or lose. It doesn't really matter so much. Okay, so h3, very interesting. You'd think he would just come back around here. I guess there'll be checkmate if he gets there. King f2 played. That stops the g3 break. But hilariously, if black just waits around here and you do this, that's really funny. That's really funny. Bishop e1 played in the game by Pranesh. Holy smokes! Take that, bishop, at your own risk. This knight is struggling. So he's going to have to go in this way, I think. I don't know that he needed to force it like this, but I think Pranesh is holding the game in general. It's just white can't advance. If they ever move the knight, there's king f4. It seems like white's kind of frozen, right? They can't do anything but move back and forth. Yeah. 123 Legend. If you are rated over 2200 FIDE, then we would recommend that you try playing games against titled players, yes. Yeah, and he goes back. King f1. He can still go back to e1, you know? He could still repeat there. He plays the simpler move, as I had originally envisioned. All right, so that's going to be a draw. How's Pranav doing against Stremovicius? Wheeling and spinning. King gets cut off from the action. Comes around a weird angle. What is he doing? Wow. Chess is difficult. This king maneuver here is not obvious. There's a 30-second increment, yeah. Salem lost. So bishop e1's a repetition here. What other games are still going? Let's refresh this. Yeah, I'm sorry I never got to that game before Ivan. Pranavan. These two games that we're watching. Draw for Mamedyarov. Draw for Lodici and Adams. Draw for Artemiev. Win for Lei Kwang Liem. Some people were saying something about Peter Leko's game. Maybe that's still going. Sindarov draws with Theodoru. Narayanan up a pawn against Yu Yang Yi, but looks kind of like a draw. Fedoseev against Wojtaszek. I like positions like this. Let me have a quick look. Leko won, says Barajas. Wow. Okay, so this is interesting because this knight's rather trapped, actually. This would be a plan. Wait, knight a4 is playable too? That should be enough to win. What were the previous moves? How'd this knight come in? Threatening a trade. Backing up. Idea d2, etc. in a moment. Here. And didn't defend the pawn because here, queens it. Oof. King e3. Not even taking, just threatening to queen. King b2, giving him the pawn with check if he wants it. d2 is going to be maybe knight c4, knight takes. Even that looks lost. d2, king takes queens, there's no fork. d2, king c2, queens. d2, knight check. King can walk away at that point. d2, knight check, king here, sack, takes, here. Black wins. So black could just push and win. Bonjour.
Bonjour.
Ah oui, je vois. Hop. Elle aime sauter, n'est-ce pas?
Yeah.
Voilà. Qu'est-ce qu'il y a?
I want to go on you.
D'accord, il faut juste le dire, ok chérie? C'est beaucoup plus clair que quand tu fais juste un.
That's two cheval.
Ouais, c'est deux chevals. Wow.
It's white and black.
Oui, les blancs et les noirs, chacun ont un cheval. Oh, tu vas vite comprendre comment jouer les échecs, toi?
Yeah.
D2.
D2.
D2. Yeah. T'as compris l'idée. Okay, she's gonna take over. Ok, voilà.
I see me.
Tu t'es vu toi-même?
I can't see you.
Non, je me suis caché et c'est toi qui fais les commentaires maintenant, ok?
Yeah.
Oh man, she loves this move D2, folks. She thinks this was a great move by Wojtaszek here. She wants to control the mouse. Tu veux bouger ça?
Yeah.
Vas-y. Woo! Whoa! Whoa!
It's on that one.
Oh, c'est par là. The mouse is going all over the place. Whoa! Wow, 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 wow. Whoa, 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 whoa.
Ew.
She's gonna have better mouse speed than me, folks.
Wow.
Wow.
Oh my god, the purple thing.
Mhm.
Here.
Tu vas aller sur cette ligne violet là.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah. It's on that one.
Ouais. Tu penses que Fedosea va abandonner ici, chérie? Oui? She thinks Fedosea is going to resign in this position, folks. That's the word. Wow. Est-ce que mon bracket est complètement busted?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's got on you.
That's for sure. Daddy's
I
bracket is
can't
busted.
see you.
Tu peux pas me voir?
This is me and this is you.
Oui. Sur un côté, il y a moi et sur l'autre côté, il y a toi.
Yeah.
Salut, chou.
And I can do this. So, but look at there.
Ouais, elle a vu. Oh, tu es entré dans l'écran. Ouais.
Look.
Wow, wow, wow. Tu vois la vitesse avec... Oh, elle a trouvé le violet.
Purple?
Ouais.
You have to go
Ouais.
up. The X? You hit the X?
Non, non, non.
Whoa.
On clique pas sur les X. Oh my god, she was right! Fedosea resigned in this exact position.
What?
Quoi?
That's a tiny guy. The black's gonna get a new queen.
She's 2 for 2 on the questions because my bracket is busted and Fedosea was busted and resigned here. Tu veux le faire? Attends. Mais moi, je dois aussi faire quelque chose. Cette partie est finie, les blancs ont abandonné, ok? Donc on va aller sur une autre position. Pranav contre Titas.
That's a lot.
Il y a plus de pièces ici?
Yeah, a lot.
Ouais.
Wait, Dad. Do
Oui.
robots ever give up?
Rarement.
But they do?
I wanna do it.
Ça dépend de comment on a programmé le robot, n'est-ce pas? Ce sont les humains qui mettent un programme et le programme dit au robot ce qu'il doit faire ou pas faire. Désolé chérie, je dois reprendre la souris maintenant, ok?
So they don't know what.
Tu as fait beaucoup
what-
avec la souris,
so
toi.
they
Très
don't
bien
know
fait.
what. So they don't know what you're going to do,
Mhm.
but they still program the
C'est piégé.
robot to do something.
Mhm.
You got check
Is that why the dumb robot always loses?
Cacahuète.
Is that why the dumb robot always loses?
Mhm.
I see something.
Qu'est-ce que tu vois maintenant?
I only just see a box. Her dad knows.
Ouais.
You made out.
Pink poop.
Pink poops? Oh, Speed 99999, you cracked up my kids. They didn't come up with that idea.
Pink.
It's your fault.
And it says hello, little baby.
Pink.
Hello, little babies, please.
Little baby.
Les caca vous disent bonjour.
Look at them.
Oui, je les vois, ils sont ici.
Hello, little babies, poop poop.
Oui, poop, poop.
Hi, baby poo-poos.
Hello, little babies. I think it's because of. I think it's supposed to make little babies laugh. You wanted to do that on purpose. That's why there's.
Hi, little
babies.
boobs.
Titas's time seemingly run out in this position. White's threat seems to be rook a6, pushing the king back. Whoa.
You're frozen, Dad.
Oh wait.
You're not moving right now because
Wait.
it's up there, and it says you're not moving.
You're frozen.
Frozen, papa.
Papa, frozen.
Comme le film que tu aimes, n'est-ce pas?
Yeah.
Everybody jump up and down.
Est-ce que tu veux
Let's drone.
est-ce que tu veux chanter une chanson pour le programme?
Yeah.
Quelle chanson est-ce que tu vas chanter?
Blackout.
Ok, viens ici, tu peux le chanter. Non?
I'm
Quoi?
and 5.
Moi, je dois chanter Let It Go?
3.
Ah non, pas moi.
1.
I see not a poops.
Tu vois encore des caca?
No. I need to get up and see it.
Ok. Ouais, est-ce que c'est?
That's not poops.
Non? Ok.
That's black figs.
Black figs.
Two more poops.
Poop?
Yeah, poop.
Wow.
2 more poops.
I have a rule, chat. I never sing Let It Go on stream.
That
Wait,
is
really? You
poop.
don't even sing our Let It Go?
Même pas le nôtre, non.
Aw.
Ouf.
This
Yeah,
is
grand.
cozy.
Oui, c'est un lit.
No, I want to show you something that's
Les lits sont
cozy.
faits pour ça. Ok.
Like this.
Oh oui, tombé.
Cozy.
Très bien. Bravo.
Zelda fall down on the bed like this.
All right, still working his Pranav.
I'm gonna do that.
It's really
Still defending his Tidas.
cozy, right? I almost fell.
You know, he still has this defense here that if A5, he takes here and eliminates the last pawn with a draw.
Ready, set, go.
You know?
Ready,
So bishop b6, still defending. White's got to find the way in. Threatens knight d8 check. Maybe there's just king here. Maybe no threat yet, just trying to approach with the king.
Okay, ready,
Rook check.
set, go.
King d6. Maybe he'll pin the knight. Qu'est-ce que vous faites?
We're doing ready, set, go, but she's laughing for no reason.
Okay.
Is it because of the pink poops? I said pink poops.
Wait.
And that's why she's laughing.
Okay.
Go!
Oh!
Sybil, you stand here. You stand here. Stand here.
King e8. Well, I mean, if black keeps checking you, where are you going?
Again.
I don't even see how to win yet.
Yeah!
Oh, trop brillant, mon amour. In general, 2 pawns down is never holdable. If it were just knight versus bishop, you'd be winning. Just rook versus rook, you'd be winning. But somehow White's struggling to coordinate properly here.
Chicken,
The rook can't get back out. Right? A5, there's always bishop A5. Trop fort, trop fort. Oh, bravo. Okay, so if we keep scrolling down here,
Oh, yeah, chicken banana.
draw for Svana and Li Yang. Alexei Grebnev still in the mix. Wow.
Ready? Chicken.
Alexei Grebnev defeated Navarra in round 2.
Do this, Sybil, instead.
Wow.
Sybil, do this.
Coming up.
Do this.
Hari, Sarana.
Ooh. Okay. Actually, you're just moving. No! Oh!
Wow, just kept queens on the board throughout this endgame. And then a mating combination at the end. With almost no pieces. Wow. Sarana. I hope I've got him in my bracket. In my bracket, I have, Sarana is supposed to beat Van Foreest and then face Abdusatorov next. T'as trouvé cock-a-doodle-doo? Oh, heureusement. Bye, Brajas. Not clear how White wins this. Oops. All right, the pieces are wandering off, trying to eventually come back this way in some new coordination or angle, but The rook is trapped on a6, so white's options have been dramatically limited here. I guess the knight should try to get to d6 and then c4. That's what white should aim for, knight d6. Normally, black would ultimately, like, blunder something, you know, since they're playing just on the increment. Like, even if it's a draw, normally something would go wrong eventually. For black. Oh, surprise. King f6, not knight f7. Allowing bishop d4, knight e6. Yeah, it just moves here. King here. Okay, he wants his knight coming from e4, not f7. It's got... covers more squares from the rook trying to harass your king. So then you go king e5, and then block with the knight. Although, how do you ever, if the rook sits on e1, like rook h1, knight e4, rook e1, it seems like you're pretty frozen there. Oh, le pauvre, tu le sauves? Well, rook and knight versus rook is an easy draw for a GM sweep blue. Good question, Brun. Good question. Wow. Bien fait, chérie. Wow, the bishop comes off its normal post here for a second. It's got to come back or the rook could get out.
Okay, and then, now, you will never, ever. Oh, look, get out there.
King here, there's rook check. Still time to blunder.
You want to be closed up? No. Yeah, you want to be closed up?
I suppose he's going to come down like this area to this area. It's king d3, maybe rook e1, trying to cut off the knight. Rook e1 stops knight e6 and knight e4 because of rook e3 check. Also stops knight f3, but maybe knight f7. And the knight can... And then rook e6. Rook e6 allows a5. Oops. Okay, let me just show you the idea. Rook e1, which got played, knight f7. Rook e6 to stop this. a5. Oh, one square you're not allowed on, right? But, okay, I got it wrong. King d2 was played first. Attacking the rook. Now black's got to choose where to go with this piece. And the knight might get away through f3 or f7. Okay. I mean, I feel like knight f7, knight d6, knight c4 was logical. Rook e5 played. Kicking the knight, which he doesn't want to send this way. Rook e6. If a5, bishop e3 check. Oh, king's got to get off of that square. King c2. Okay, maybe white's trying to bring the knight through d2 to c4 eventually.
Let's say something, we have to keep everything we've got inside.
It is very hard to tell for sure. And black is forced to play every move here on the increment. Right now, white's probably threatening a5 now that there's no checks. So black's going to have to move the rook off of this rank here. So something like rook e3, but then knight d2. And now you can't stop knight c4. You go rook here. That looks correct. Rook e4, knight d2, rook h4. And then when the king tries to support it, you give check. That's where you need to be in the end. But it's not obvious because you have to visualize that the knight's going to move away. So that's the square you're headed towards.
Whatever we put inside can't go out of it. Yeah. So we can't put anything.
Seconds left for T-toss. Move after move after move. They're at move 92 now. Epic battle. Rook f6 the choice.
Now let's go inside.
That may not give enough checking distance because let's say here, 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 you can't check.
You want to have a party, Bubba? Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, and he goes through e5, not d2.
Yeah.
Threatening this and this.
You want? Oh, Bubba. What if Babago gets more? Will you? Well, and you stay
I thought
there?
knight d2 was very
Just say
simple, but
more.
it doesn't look like there's anything worse about this move.
No, don't open it. Okay. Baba's gonna go get more. Okay.
Rook f4, stopping knight c4 for a moment, and then you'd expect the king to come up. Not king c3, bishop d4. King b3, I think, is the idea. Ah oui, ça va?
Yeah, Kalubi's getting more stuffies.
Oh, très bien, très bien, très bien.
He's cozy.
Ah, yay!
Yeah, yes.
Oh, t'as des amis là-dedans avec toi.
Yeah. This what? We put this
Oh.
in it.
C'est quoi ça? C'est un virus?
No, it's
No.
effing.
Un elephant?
No, I got a blanket for us.
Okay.
Because we like a be cozy.
This game needs to end soon because I gotta get the kids to school. Bishop here with the idea of rook b4. White could play rook c6. Perhaps. Knight d3. Oh, hits him with that. It's gotta be rook here. And then bishop back. And then a5. Oh, it's over. It's over. He's got king c4 quickly. He's got a5 coming next. His king is defending the pawn now, right? So this resource is gone. He can check him back. King's covering everything. And then it's over. And the rook is too close. This was this big mistake here. Rook e6, king c2, rook f6. He needs to at least be back here on the h file, right? So he needed to do this, then something like knight d2, and then here to keep putting up some resistance. On the f file, he's too close. So some squares the knight takes from him. Here's Pranav's move. a5 coming. Toi, tu essaies d'échapper?
Yeah.
Oh! Tu peux? Oh, presque. Tu peux?
It's only one leg.
Ok. Est-ce que tu as besoin d'aide?
Oh, that's enough. I don't want to.
Non, tu veux pas t'échapper trop vite.
Yeah,
Tu attends ton frère.
I'll give him turn this around.
Wow, it just gives the check. Why? I don't know.
I'm a playground.
Wow. Did I get this all wrong, or what's going on? I mean, it's like the finish line. You would think you'd just go a5. Is this not clear somehow? If the bishop stays on this diagonal, that should be pretty good now, right? Knight c5. So what was so wrong with this?
No, we're not eating.
This is
Maybe it was then a5?
well, looks cozy on your side.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So in this position, if you play something like here, here, check, here, here, the opponent can just go here, and this is a draw. You didn't see anything wrong with A5, right, Fisher Seb?
I don't need this blanket.
A5, he's going to get checked forever.
Okay.
And he wants to be able to hide the king here.
Do you want
I
it?
actually, I kind of do want it. I'll go put it in the laundry basket like Sally.
That's true.
I hope the stain isn't too visible.
Check.
The stain's visible.
King's got to go this way, I think.
Gosh, that stain is visible.
We put it in this. Because this is mine. And it's not the same one.
Oh, now the rook defends the pawn, so you can play A5 and then walk the king somewhere else, maybe.
Special delivery!
Well, there goes the A pawn. Good lord. Pranav blundered it at the very end. Abysmal. Abysmal.
Oh, well. Like it?
Abysmal. It's not Oraval. That's why I thought he should play A5. Wait, it says resigns? Resigns? What? Rook C4?
Baba's coming in. Stuffies! Shh. Don't yell.
Normally this back rank defense is enough. Thank you, 17.
Oh, what?
Okay, so he didn't blunder it. It was perfect. Ugh. Wow.
I'm the DJ.
That's the fatigue 100 moves in. My goodness. But I just need to know, like, what's wrong with A5 here? It says A5, they retreat, then check, king back, and completely winning. Anything you want. Rook check, king here, check. King B8, slightly better. And still like knight E6 or just B6, right? And the king can tuck in.
Baba, lay down. Wait, Baba got a funny idea. Okay, Baba. Throw the stuffies.
You still need
outside.
A5 to break through. Just the same.
Yeah, Baba, the stuffies, Baba's got a good idea.
Okay.
You're gonna have a lot
Maybe
of
it didn't
fun.
make a very big difference.
You want a lot of fun.
Zoe, remember you were just borrowing this. But do you really want it?
Yes.
For real?
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
The
this is
8th rank
for your
only
birthday.
defense. 8th rank defense only works if your rook actually gets there. Yeah.
Birthday's really soon, so when it's your birthday, I'll
Whew.
give you this and I'll
She
give you
wants to
beautiful
put it in there.
Okay,
for
so Pranav goes for knight C5, allowing the immediate trade into the rook endgame. Titas took it. Tried to freeze him with this clever move, which makes it quite tricky. There's not a lot of wins here for white, I imagine. Like, I don't think Pranav has 6 different variations to win here. So first checks, forcing the king to the side. Then over here, less options for black. Comes in. And all of that is just by force. If the king walks away, check, here, B6 with kind of basic Lucena-ing.
Give Baba the things for the moment.
So, a long grind for Pranav and Stremavicius.
So, lay down, okay? Once you don't have
And that's going to be it for the first game of round 3 here. Sarana won, Hari Krishna won. Puya Idani with an upset against Andrei Esipenko.
You are gonna have
Barn burner but draw between Yakubayev and Van Nguyen. Ivan feeling very confident after his win against Robson. Tried for a similar number against Bluebaum and got slaughtered. Peter Leko beat Kirill Alexeyenko. Fantastical. I probably predicted Alexeyenko to win this match. Let me scroll down. I predicted Alexeyenko to win this match and go on to face Aragaisi. Aragaisi did beat Vokadov. Wow, Peter Lecco. Aragaisi's looking like a solid pick for his part of the bracket right now. And Shant Sargsyan won, which we were predicting here as well. So, yeah. An okay day for round 3. Yes, this event is OTB. Hope everybody enjoyed our dojo coverage. Remember that all these hours and hours and hours of chess coverage on Twitch and on YouTube are supported by our Patreon. We make about $400 a month to support this. So if you'd like us to keep getting up at 1 a.m., since every tournament now seems to be held in Asia, consider going over to the Dojo Patreon. All right. That's it for me. Cheers, everybody. Have a great day. And game 2 of round 3 will be tomorrow at the same time. So we'll see you then and there.